has some sort of a risk there in order to hit that timeline where we don't know what's really going on might have an impact. But
Also, I can speak on behalf of his wife, who is a television newscaster, that it's not a very flexible and easy career and does sometimes require like moving around more often than not, actually.
yeah, and I think a way we could do this is like once everyone's fully read and analyzed everything, we could just make a list of where each person thinks each person should go, 1 through 7, and then we can just compare lists like that. If that's the way you guys want to do it. I'm not
No, that makes
opposed
sense.
to.
Why don't
Yeah.
we, because I haven't read through them all. Are you guys okay if we just take the next few minutes to just kind of read through them all real quick? I do like your idea, James, of highlighting like the pros and cons that we like from each person, and then we can see kind of what matches up. Is that cool?
Yeah, Jamie, that works for me too. I read the first scenario, like I read the background, I guess, or the information sheet, but I haven't had a chance to read the bios. So I
All
think
right, sweet.
a few minutes is good.
Cool. Thank you.
Sorry, guys, that's my computer losing its mind.
Can't even hear. You're good.
Okay, great.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome. We're just reading
Ooh.
through these 7 candidates real quick.
Sorry,
So
I'm late.
we're just reading through these candidates on the second page. Do you have the information?
Which paper? I don't think I have it.
So it was the one titled AIRSOPAC. It was attached to the email from Professor Bruce.
I'm going to forward it to you in Canvas because I just find that that's easier to use.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, while she's doing that, we're just taking some time to read through like the background information and then the candidates. And then on our own, we're kind of ranking them. So the assignment is we have to collectively decide on a new CEO and a runner-up to CEO in case they're not able to fulfill their duties. So we're just reading through, like I said, the background information and the bios, and then individually coming up with our 1 through 7 and how we're ranking them. And then we'll come together
I
and
see.
discuss as a group. Yep.
Okay. Where can I find the candidates?
I just forwarded it to you in Canvas. You should get it in your inbox in a second.
I got it.
Okay.
Mhm.
my dog. Love you.
Do we want to start sharing? And then as soon as we start sharing, it may allow people to have time to go back and like read through and look at ideas that they might not have thought of the first time.
Yeah. Do you want to start?
Yeah, so I don't really have, I put like a kind of a bland list together of like all first impressions of like definitely two that I like, and then definitely two that I don't necessarily like. I think one and five, in my opinion, both have good backgrounds. I think one definitely with the background of their uh, background in basically everything, including like marketing, finance, operations, high level general management. Um, he's considered an outstanding, well rounded manager. high leadership qualifications and has had 25 years in the company, so he knows, I guess, the timing of things well. I think that's what I consider good about him, and I think that 5. I liked, again, like, long time with the company. I think frequently testifies before Congress on the regulation of airline industry, kind of gives him like a legal background. Um, he's considered serious and affable, good colleague and a leader. So it's another thing that is, I think, necessarily good about them. And then I'm just going to quickly, I have 6, 3, 4, and 7 in the middle. I don't really have a place for them. I think 6 has great business expertise, but they had that heart attack several years ago. It could be a risk of it, like a health risk. 3 I liked because they were a really good planner. But again, like, haven't had the the health examination. I know I keep pointing at that, but it's like something that's timely, and they're in a stressful situation, so that might not be good. And they've only had 11 years with the company, so they might not know how things run as well. 7 has like a very in-depth knowledge of how everything works, but 8 years ago was corporate vice president of personnel, but didn't take the job seriously, and that was like a big red flag, I would say.
Yeah.
Then 4, 7 and 4, I have like more second and third to last. 4, I just didn't feel like there was much background on this person. Like, they gave where they went to school. It gave like things about their family. High energy level. Like, I didn't see anything besides the 15 years of the company that really stuck out at all. I don't know if, like, this is a problem of who was writing these write-ups on these people, or what this information that they provided. And then I think 2 is, like, to me, an obvious last. I think like the whole thing is just full of flaws, that they might spend their time not at work, not being very appropriate, occasionally becomes extremely intoxicated off the job. Can see is very far, like, conservative, which might not rub some people the right way. They're only 39 and with only 9 years at the company. I think 2 for me is like an obvious last.
Yeah,
I'll-
I had similar results. So I had like 1 and 5 circled as my top 2 as well. I was looking over, I think the one thing for 6 for John, the other thing that stuck out to me, I noticed all the things you said, but the fact that he pilots his own plane, to me felt risky in addition to the heart attack, just because we know how many single engine planes and stuff like that have accidents. I just felt like that's kind of risky behavior for a CEO. I I had 2 and 7 at the bottom as well of my list. I didn't get a chance to like really do my rankings, but 2 and 7 at the bottom for sure. Um, in addition to, at least for number 7, for Skip, in addition to kind of like the lackadaisical approach with his previous position, um, I thought that there was a lot of things in here that to me struck out as conflict of interest, maybe, or that could be seen as conflict of interest. As far as his marriage, his father being the co-founder of AIRSOPAC, like he's a recovering alcoholic, he has skin cancers. Like, to me, there was just a lot of red flags in here, in his bio. And then obviously for 2, the fact that you are sometimes intoxicated. I mean, not at work, but again, we know in those kind of positions, you're constantly being watched. You're constantly at work, even when you're not at work. So have to always be mindful of optics. I didn't really think about anyone else yet. So 3, I think 3, 3 and 4, I guess, kind of fall in the middle for me somewhere. So I don't think I'm too far off from what you had, Jamie. Just 5 and 1 to me seem like the strongest candidate.
I will piggyback on that, and I agree. I do look though at the political factor here, and well, when I say political factor, I guess I mean like aspirations in politics, perhaps. not necessarily just their party, but with number one, with Robert, it says that he's under consideration for a cabinet position in Washington as Secretary of Commerce. So that could take him out of the running in totality. You know what I mean? If he were to get that. So I do put a little bit of weight on that. With number 5, with Edward, I do worry though about the fact that he ran for a political position years ago and lost. I just wonder if the political aspirations are still there, and if so, how deep are they? But those are 2 of my top choices based on everything else. I just kind of have those in the back of my mind, like, are you going to go somewhere else? Are you going to be here, long term? So I did just want to point those out. Number 4, Joanne, I literally left her blank because I just didn't really have anything that stuck out to me. Same thing what you said, Jamie. There was nothing super impressive. It does seem like kind of a lot of information that wouldn't qualify her for that position. With Harold, I do worry, number 2, I do worry about his outspokenness with politics. It says that he is part of the NRA and the Republican Party's conservative wing. And I'm not saying that because it's Republican. I would say that if I saw that for Democrat as well. I just think that sometimes when you're almost too involved or outspoken, especially nowadays, I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And the rest, yeah, I mean, just health, same thing, that the 2 of you said already. So I agree with 1 and 5 being my top choices. I do have concerns about their longevity.
That's fair.
So I right off the bat actually crossed off 2, 6, 7. Number 2, obviously, we all agree there occasionally becomes extremely intoxicated off the job. At the position of a CEO, it's essentially the face of a company. So if worst case scenario, he goes crazy drunk and then is on the news the next day, it's bad for the company. It looks bad for the image. Number 7, the individual has skin cancer, possibly not a good candidate. Heart attack for number 6, questioning the health of these candidates. My top choice was actually number 1 as well. However, for number 5, this person is the CFO. So are we willing to make another Zoom meeting to find a CFO next week sometime? Would be the question. But I mean, his credentials are pretty good. He has extensive knowledge of the company. He's the CFO, so he has experience making decisions, making financial decisions. If he is really good at his CFO job, are we willing to replace him with another CFO that potentially doesn't have the same credentials that he has? Or should we just leave him at the CFO position? In terms of my second choice, it really is, to me, between Franklin, number 3, and Joanne, number 4. They seem like such similar people. It's really hard to pick who between them 2. Number 3, I guess, again, the CEO position is the face of the company, and it says his wife is a television newscaster with national reputation. That might be good for public image. It might be bad if she's a bad news reporter. So number 1, I'd go with Robert. Number 2, it's between 3 and 4, just because we have a CFO already. Do we want to promote him? Do we want to lose a CFO with all that knowledge and all that experience and replace him with someone that's potentially not as good? So in conclusion, Robert for CEO, and I guess we could discuss between 3 and 4 for the backup.
I like your line of thinking.
Yeah, I hadn't considered some of that.
Thank you.
I think it's also important that we look. I mean, we all kind of really like 1, and I think also I'm looking back at the top section of the paper. And I'm also, you guys I didn't even think about the public image aspect of that. So that was a really good thought. But also like even more of the technical stuff, they all are peers to each other. So they all came from that. They're all vice president of a division of the staff. So I think they might all have like great experience, but this specificness of like, I'm highlighting up here, financial marketing, operate, like however, a myriad of details concerning legal, financial, marketing, operational, political, and international issues must be thought through before the extension can become a reality. And like one even ticks those boxes. Besides just being like having a good public image, having extensive experience in the company, and being considered a good leader.
With one, I do want to bring up though, age, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just,
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things that come to my head is number one is, I believe, the oldest candidate. And so you do wonder, how long are you going to get out of a person? But you could find, even if it's just a few years, those few years to be extremely valuable and worth it to be able to get this, you know, off the ground and everything that needs to be done, and then have the successor kind of waiting in the wing. But it is something to consider.
I have something else too that I read previously in the intro topic that I don't know if we considered or thought about, is the fact that this company has a good reputation with equal employment opportunity and affirmative action. So I think that's something that we should consider. I mean, there's pretty much only 2 candidates that are not white men, which would be, I think, 3 and 4. Yeah. So I don't know if that's something that we want to consider in our decision as well. Do we promote someone not simply because they, you know, check a box, but is that something that we want to maybe further consider, given some qualification? So I know, is it Jeremy or Jeremy? I want to pronounce it correctly.
Jeremy's fine.
Jeremy pointed out, I think 4 being one of his like runner-ups. I think you said 3 and 4 actually. So
Yes.
yeah, so I think that's something that we, you know, may want to take into consideration. I'm not, you know, forcing it on us, but we may want to consider in keeping with how the company tends to hire.
Question about 4. I don't know if anyone has really thought about this at all, but it says second husband is a multimillionaire scion of an established, well-known West Coast family. Is this the current husband? It says second husband, so I don't know if that means they're still together or not. But if they are, you know, if her husband's a multimillionaire, do you
She needed that.
that she'd want to stay forever? I don't know. Just saying. I don't know that
I
I
mean,
would.
to me, that means, to me,
No,
I read that as she's not in it for the money. Oh, sorry, Sheila, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Some of the information, I don't know. It's a lot of personal information. I just feel like, what does they have to do with anything? I'm looking at qualifications. Are you able to do the job? It's wonderful you have a multimillionaire husband, but I don't know.
Now, see, I read
Can
that
you guys
as,
hear me?
yeah, you were breaking up, but I think you're kind of
I
coming
think I'm
back
lost again.
now. But
Okay.
I hear Sheila's point, but to me, when I read that, I see that as I'm here, and it's not for the money because I'm secure with that. So, like, my husband's a multimillionaire. I don't necessarily have to be here. I'm here because I want to be. So I saw that as the opposite.
Positive.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also, the gentleman at the top, the 60-year-old man. I mean, I'm almost 60. And I'm hoping that if I were to apply for a position such as this, that I would not be kind of like, people be leery of me because of my age. You know, in a position as a CEO, you can do that probably until you're 70 or 80. You know what I mean? Because that's a high position. So, I mean, I like number one because of his experience, and he's well seasoned.
Yeah.
And guys, I hope y'all can hear me. If y'all can't hear me, send me something in the text box
We can hear you
because I'm
now.
in
I
a
can hear you,
location.
Sheila.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, because I'm in a location where the signal is not really good. But yeah, I like the first one. I definitely like the first one. He would have been my first choice. And I like the fact that I can't remember your name. I'm sorry. When you talk about affirmative action and the African American gentleman as well as the female. I think that we probably really should look at that as well. Um,
Is there anyone that you'd give? I know you like one. Is there anyone you'd give like a runner up? Because we got to pick two. So I
mhm.
think people giving like top threes will have us like help us align our thought processes together.
I think for me, I say 1, 5, and 3.
1, 5, 3. Hmm. Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Sure.
I wanted to ask, before doing
Fine.
this, did we have a list of like, what is the best CEO for us? Like, who we see as the best someone we can put on the top? Because when I read it, they say that they might need someone with new thinking. But when I read the number one story is like is just a general or just a random CEO. You won't do or you won't even do something different. And I picked Joanne at first because to me she was like different. She will add more innovative stuff to the team. And then I put number 5 at second because he has the politic things. So that when she's working on new things, he can back her up. And then I put Rob because he's the well-round one. So I put him at the third place, and then I put Frank at the fourth. Uh, I think the other one I didn't even care about them. That's it. Yeah, they were all sick, so.
I didn't think about that. That's a good point. That they're saying that this new person would, need to have innovative ideas.
And her husband is a millionaire, so we can have new contacts. She speaks Japanese, so maybe we can expand to Japan because Japan and Hawaii is not really that far, and people are really going back and forth. So why not try a new lane? That's what I thought.
I like that line of thinking.
So do I.
So you said 4 and then 5.
And for me,
And
number 1 is 4
okay.
because she's young and she went to Yale and stuff like that. And then number 2 is number 5 because he has the politic things, he knows the politics, so we can split it instead of having someone that is good at everything. Why not have 2 people that are better at it? So she's good for the innovative, she is good for adding new stuff, and then he's good for keeping everything right, if
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying.
Is
Yeah.
anyone concerned though about number 5, running politically and being obviously an outspoken Republican if you're running as a Republican? Because when you are CEO, unfortunately, you are the face of a company in that sense. So if you are involved in political and have political aspirations and you're clearly making it known which side you're on, that can help or hurt depending on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll
I
be
mean,
here too.
I feel more confident. I personally feel more confident with, we already kind of pretty much ruled out 2, but I felt more confident with the background of Edward versus Harold in terms of how they describe their affiliation, as far as politics and things like that. But I don't know. I mean, there's always a possibility that he could, get the bug again and run. But there's also a chance that you ran, you lost, it's out of your system.
I don't even mean the threat of running again. I mean, now everyone knows where you stand. And so if you're going to be the CEO of a company, now everyone, it's very
Got
open
you.
out there where you're.
Okay, I understand.
Well, he's already operating as a CFO for the company, so he's already an executive, and he's already pretty much second in command or third in command based on their architecture of the company. But
Right.
so I'm sure
Mhm.
everyone's already aware of his stance politically, and what he does, and so far the company seems successful.
Oh my God.
I
So
mean, I feel like as long as you can keep those lanes separate, I mean, I mean, all of us here have a political affiliation, something that we identify with more than the other. It still doesn't, mean that like today we're coming together and make a decision about this assignment. So I mean, it doesn't have to. While these things do influence us, it doesn't necessarily have to have huge influence or impact in him having, second in command role
Yeah.
or third in command role.
I definitely look at that a little differently. And I definitely appreciate what you're saying. I just think considering, yes, we all have whatever beliefs we have and we're coming together today, but we also haven't openly, publicly run for office
True.
on a certain side. And CFO is, I mean, to your point, I think, Jeremy, did you say that? That he's CFO, so that hasn't stopped him and been a problem up until this point taken. But I think to be the CEO and to be the top person in a company, I just think that's, I don't know. To me, that does
I agree
weigh
with
in.
that. And I
I do
definitely,
too. I don't
I like the experience of
political
having that CFO
affiliation.
there, but I definitely agree that the step from CFO to CEO is so different because when you think about a company's CEO, you never really think about, like, when you think about like companies, you're not thinking like be it Bill Gates was the CEO of Microsoft or any other like big company. You're not going to know who the CFO is. I feel like they're more of that. Those C-suite members that aren't the CEO don't really have that public image, and having that stance on that one figure in your company, because a lot of people see the CEO as the company. I mean, from an
Mhm.
outside perspective, obviously not from the inside, but to have like to know that that person is politically one way and that is their person to say is like definitely a little risky. But I also really do like five, so I don't. I'm just playing a little bit of devil's advocate to try and get the issues out.
Yeah. Well, I think most of us gave. I don't think we've heard everybody's top three yet. So I think let's finish hearing top threes and then see kind of where people fall. I think
I think I want number 3.
as your
Even
first.
though he has as he Robert is number 1 for me. I'm still kind of on the fence with Edward, but he has a lot of good qualifications for the position as CEO. And I think Franklin, he's a young man, he's 42. Um, he has his MBA from Fisk, even though he has not had his health examination for 5 years. I don't think that really says that he would not be qualified for the position. He just needs to take better care of himself. He doesn't have any problems. And he I think politically, well, they talk about his political and he's an independent, so he tends to be liberal, which I think is something that would be good for the company as well. I mean, politics really shouldn't play a part in that, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
I mean, what your political affiliation is your affiliation. And I really don't think that has to have anything to do with, how you would run a company and be the face of the company. So I would say number 3 as my third person, Franklin. And he's
So you're,
young. He's
so you're
42.
going 1, 1, 5, and 3, Sheila?
Yes, 1, 5, and 3. That's what that's where I'm at with that.
I think I go 1. I do like 3. I know that we're concerned about the health examination, and I agree with that. And I also agree that there's concern there about his wife's job, because I mean, I had a national news job for the last 5 years, and I chose to step down and leave it, which is why I came back to Philly. So I do know what goes into all of that, and how where you work, your reputation, things like that can play a factor and affect those around you. I know that from experience. So I do have concerns about that, but I don't think it's be all end all for sure. So I think I go 1, 3, and then I guess I would go for, even though there's nothing in Joanne's background here that's like giving me as much information as I'd like to have at this point in time, I think I'd go her over 5, for the sole reason that I do put weight on the outspoken nature, I guess, politically, of 5. Because it's so public.
Hmm.
I put 4, 5, and 1.
Yeah, I had that written down for you already. Jeremy, I don't remember what your choices were.
Mm.
So I probably go 1, 4, 3.
1, 4, 3. Okay. And then Jamie, you were 1, 5, 1, 5,
1, 5, 6.
1, 5, 6. So, Robert, it looks like, is the top choice for 5 out of 6 of, is it 6 of us on here? 3, yeah.
7. Well, I don't know. 6.
So yeah, 6 of us. We're not counting Professor Bruce.
Oh, us. 3 my candidates, sorry.
So I think, yeah, 5 out of us have Robert being the top choice for CEO. And then when we're looking at the runner up, I think 1, 2, 3, 4 of us have Edward, 5. But then like 3 and 4 are coming in pretty much runner-ups for a lot of things. I don't think I think you're by yourself with number 6, Jamie. But
Yeah, I know.
but I think it's so, from what I'm seeing though, there's a lot more 3s on here than 4s. So I think we have choices between 1, 5, and 3 is what I'm seeing, looking at everybody's numbers. But if I'm just looking at how we space them out right now, Robert would definitely be CEO and Edward would be the runner-up based on how we did our rankings. I don't know if everyone's in agreement with that. I mean, obviously not, because we all had people in different places. So, I don't know how much time we have. I know we had 15 minutes a few minutes ago, like 10 minutes ago. So I don't know if we want to do any last minute like campaigning, or if we're comfortable with that result.
And you said runner-up was number 5.
Yes.
I don't know why, but I think to me it's the same person.
I don't disagree with that. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm over here like, I don't disagree with that. And I almost want to change my response to be 3 then 5, because I don't disagree with that. I think that it's
So
a younger version of number 1, pretty much.
I also want to make a case against 3, because I think one key thing is here, 11 years in a company and becoming CEO is like a really short amount of time. That is like to have when you are like I think the plan of having all that stuff ready by 2025 and having someone that doesn't quite hit that like longer career period within that company lacks so much knowledge of the company. I also would say that the liking motorcycles is, I think, also to your point on number 6 is risky behavior. And I think has not had a health examination for 5 years is a lack of responsibility. Like that's something that everyone should be doing. And that might, I guess the way I displayed that might not be a good way of saying, well, that they might be a health risk. I think more than just being a health risk, I think that's like a huge lack of like responsibility of not taking care of yourself the way you should. Then how are you going to take care of a company?
So does anyone want to make an argument for number 4 then? Because I know that a lot of people liked number 4 at various points in their ranking.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone feel strongly about that?
3 people had 4 in their top 3. So.
Well, mine was just, I didn't like 2, 6, 7. I didn't want to replace our CFO just because it's going to be another headache in a week. Between 3 and 4, just another thought for number 3, it says that obtaining the CEO job to be the capstone of his career. One may question, is he just going to peak and then have no motivation to do good in his job? Because he's already reached the peak and you can only come from there.
I just don't understand. Oh my goodness.
So I think out of the 7, I personally didn't think 2, 6, and 7 were qualified. I didn't want to go through the headache of replacing number 5. And between 3 and 4, I think 4 was the better candidate.
I'm sorry, I was talking and I was reading. I was not saying whatever I was saying, if you heard me. I apologize. I'm like, what is this? And I didn't realize that I was not muting. I was reading, you guys.
It's okay.
I apologize. Oh my God.
So Jeremy, I'm sorry, one more time. So you said between 3 and 4 for you? I'm sorry.
Yes. So my runner-up would be 4.
Okay, that's what I still have you at. All right.
Yep.
So then yours has been changed. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said to make a case for number 4.
No, I was saying if we.
So.
Yeah. You were cool. I was just saying if it changed the
Oh
voting
no,
or anything. No.
I'm still leaning towards number 4 for the backup.
So so then for me, I had 3 as my runner up. But I agree with Siri's point about 1 and 5 kind of being almost the same person. So I'm strongly considering taking 5 out of my second place. What'd you say?
Sorry, I was thinking.
Oh, but then maybe, I don't know, maybe keeping 5 because of the age point that, someone else raised. So I don't know. Now I'm all confused again. Y'all made some really good points. I'm like really confused again. I think what I didn't notice the first time around was the motorcycle thing too, Jamie. So thanks for bringing that up, because that also makes me question, like you said, and I didn't look at. I mean, obviously, I didn't have a health exam for 5 years underlined, because to me that did scream irresponsible. So I
don't know. Yeah, I don't understand. Now, this is why I was shaking my head. I don't understand what he likes motorcycles. I like fast cars. You know what I mean?
For me, it's the same. So I would consider that a risk.
I don't understand. I don't get it.
I would consider that a risk though as a CEO, because liking. So it's one thing if you like motorcycles, it's fine. And this says like motorcycles, which is why I didn't catch it the first time. Now, if it says he likes to ride motorcycles, then I would maybe lean towards that. So then I'll withdraw my statement, because I'm going to read what's here and not assume what's here.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Sheila. Because again, for me, the one who was likes to fly his own plane, that was a that was a red flag because he's actually the one piloting.
Mhm.
But if you just have like a collection, you know, or you like motorcycles, that shouldn't be a factor.
Yeah, I only brought that up because of what you were saying about number 6. I think the
Yeah,
big
I know.
3 is that the irresponsibility from the health examinations. I would say that taking liberal positions that we argued that like with 5, you could take more
It's the same
conservative,
thing,
like
just
you
the opposite
think it's
direction.
both ways. And then the 11 years is just like
Yeah.
so short at such an important time.
So I'll make a case then quickly for Joanne then, who initially wasn't really my favorite, although it does say health status is unknown. I do think it would be fair to probably further inquire about that, as you know, a stipulation of the job, but speaks Japanese fluently. It says that she's a conservative Democrat, but it makes no mention of her being more outspoken or having political aspirations as some of the others do. So I think that for me, that doesn't matter then what her leanings are, as long as she's not out there in the world like, hey, here's, what's going on, and then the company's going to be affected by it. She has 15 years in the company. That's more than 11. I don't know if that's enough to please you, Jamie, in that sense. But I think that she seems like she has a lot of worldly experience. And as a few of you pointed out, seems like maybe she's there not for the money, but for the love of the job. So I say Joanne.
And I
So
think
is this
that
a
was
question
true
of,
for
are we
Well, I'm still with
in
Frank.
agreement that number 1 is our first choice? And are we deciding between
Yes.
Yeah.
3, 4, and 5 for a second? Is that what we're going over?
I think that's where we at right now. Yeah. For the most part, everybody had one in the top. And I think Siri was the only one who had Joanne as his top choice. So I think I think it's right now, like you said, it's between 3, 4, and 5 for runner up. I think we can agree that 1 is the choice we're making for CEO. That's it. I don't have anything else to say because I have a lot more to say, but we don't have more time.
Yeah, we're about, I think Professor's just about to come back in. I like 1, 4, and 5. I mean, I like 4. I'd be willing to do the 4 would be a good choice. I just don't think there's that much of a background on her to give her like the qualifications that 5 have. And I think 5,
Yeah,
in
I'ma
my
keep
opinion, is a little
mine.
bit better, but I unpopular opinion, it might be, but I really don't think 3 is a good pick. To me personally. But I'm not opposed to 4 at all.
Could
I'd be
everyone
willing.
Yeah, I'm keeping mine the way it is. I'm stuck on 3, 1, 5, and 3. I think that's where I want to be. That's it.
I'd go to 154 instead of 156.
I'm willing to go 1, 4. I didn't even have 4 in mind.
You only have to pick 2.
Yeah, I'm willing to go 1. I'm willing to go 1, 4.
I'm going 1, 4.
Yeah, I'll just say 1, 4. We'll agree to it.
4 for me too.
Okay, 1, 4. I can go 1, 4, whatever. I don't know. This is so confusing to me.
Sheila, I love your comment.
And you know what? Because for me, like I said, I'll be 60 this year. So I'm like, I want to go for a CEO position, and I don't want people to look at me and say, oh, yeah, you have all the qualifications, but aren't you ready for retirement? I know I'm
Well,
not.
no,
If I was, I wouldn't be applying for a position.
Well,
We
Sheila,
all picked one though.
Yeah, so I'm cool. Yeah, thank
So
you.
is everyone cool with
Because
that?
my
I
feelings
really-
were starting to get a little hurt. I'm trying to be
No,
objective
I
and not
mean,
subjective.
we questioned it, but I don't think it really swayed too many people's opinions there.
Yeah. With all those
Terry,
qualifications, yeah, I like that. I like number 1.
Terry, are you okay with 1 and 4? I
Mhm.
know you had like a totally different ranking, but
I can deal with it.
what'd you say? I'm sorry.
I said I can deal with it. I'm okay with it.
Okay. So I think we have our choices, Professor Bruce.
And thank you, Sheila, for speaking up for us old folks.
Yay.
All right. All right, good. I'm gonna turn off the recording. Not that what I have to say